are some housekeeping points to note. We are not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave as quickly as possible. The fire exits are to the rear and the front of the community hall, and the fire assembly point is at the other end of the car park in front of the building. The toilets are located directly behind us. Please could I ask you to turn off your mobile phone or put them to silent. We want everybody to be able to hear, so please respect whoever is speaking by not chatting amongst yourselves. Also, you should be aware that the meeting is being recorded and the recording is being streamed on our social media channels. Particularly members of the public, if the camera can see you, then you can be seen on camera. So if you want to move somewhere else in the room, then you're more than happy to do that. It's up to you. We're more than especially pleased to welcome members of the public this evening who are here to observe the meeting or to make representations during the public speaking session. Are you both here for the grant application? Yeah. Okay, this is a formal meeting and it will be conducted according to our standing orders. This means that members of the public may make representations during a public session only and may only speak once for a maximum of 3 minutes. This is to allow us to complete all of our business this evening. However, if at any point you want to discuss anything some more, please speak to us afterwards, or you can contact us via the office. Are there any private confidential items this evening?
No, I don't think there's anything that would necessitate you excluding the public. No. Okay,
thank you. Okay, we can go on to agenda point 1. To note any apologies for absence, please.
Yes, got apologies from Councillor Bedford Cannon, although Aisha is online in the meeting, but she obviously has to submit apologies because she has to be present in the room to vote. Councillor Palmer and Councillor Joshi will send apologies.
Okay, members, I would like to move that apologies for Councillor Palmer are accepted rather than acknowledged. Is everybody happy with that? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, to note councillors' declarations of interest in matters on the agenda.
I have an interest in the grants application, so I will in no way be interested in voting or taking part in any session.
Thank you, Councillor Fernandez, noted. Okay, next item on the agenda is to approve the draft minutes meeting minutes for Thursday, 30th of January, full council, pages 1 to 8 in your pack. Unless any councillor tells me that they want to make an amendment, I'm going to note that these are accepted. Is that okay? Thank you. So those are accepted. Now I want to vary the order of the agenda with your agreement. I mean, as interesting as the council meeting may be, you may kind of feel that you would like to discuss your item and then have the option to leave. So I'd like to bring forward item 8, which is to consider a community grant application from the MK Gowan community. And it's noted that this item is to be considered by full council rather than community committee in order to ensure that it's dealt with during the current financial year. Okay, so did you want to speak for up to 3 minutes on the information that you've given us? Yes. Yes.
Okay, wonderful councillors of Bletchley. My name is Tony Di Mello, and I'm honored to address you today on behalf of the esteemed Milton Keynes Community Council. Having been a resident of Bletchley since 1986, I have had the privilege to witness the growth and evolution of a beautiful town firsthand. I stand before you today on behalf of the vibrant and diverse Milton Keynes community, seeking your support and consideration for funding our cultural events. As proud members of this community, we recognize the importance of preserving and celebrating our rich heritage. We believe that by investing in our cultural events, we can foster a deep sense of unity, understanding, and appreciation among all residents of Bletchley and surrounding areas. Our Goan heritage is not merely a part of our past. It is a living, breathing aspect of our identity that deserves to be cherished and shared with others. Through our cultural events, we aim to showcase the unique traditions, music, dance, cuisine, and arts that define us as Goans. These events serve as invaluable opportunities for us to come together as a community, to pass down our customs to future generations, and to invite others to learn and participate in our cultural experiences. However, organizing these events requires significant resources, both in terms of time and finances. With our community members generously volunteer their time and expertise to make these events a reality. Financial support from the council would greatly enhance our ability to organize larger, more inclusive and more impactful cultural celebrations. By allocating funding from our cultural events, you will not only be investing in the preservation of Goan heritage, but also in the enrichment of a broader Bletchley community. Our events serve as bridges of cultural exchange, fostering connections and understanding between people of different backgrounds. They contribute to the cultural legacy of Bletchley, making a more vibrant and inclusive place for our residents to call home. Moreover, supporting our cultural events aligns with the Council's goals of promoting diversity, community unity, and cultural enrichment. By partnering with us, you have opportunity to demonstrate your commitment to these values and to showcase Bletchley as a welcoming and inclusive community that celebrates its diversity. In conclusion, I urge you, esteemed councillors, to recognize the importance of our cultural events to the fabric of our community and to allocate the necessary funds to support our continuation and growth. Together, let us celebrate our shared heritage, promote understanding, and build more inclusive, harmonious Bletchley for generations to come. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. So I understand that, sorry, did you want to speak also?
No, if you have any questions.
I understand that the event is to take place on the 7th of April.
Yes.
For 100 people.
Yes.
And you're requesting £1,500.
That's right.
Okay. So do we have any questions from members this evening? Keith.
Just one, Chair. I support in principle the idea, but I've just got one quick question. Several times in here, in the application, they make a suggestion that there is a where they are trying to get the into the community. One of the things it says. Such events help people to get to know the neighbours and help build a sense of community. Yet the target is their own community and not outside of it. And it just seems that an opportunity may be lost to be more inclusive.
Okay. Do you have any response to that?
Yes. See, as I feel like when we start something, we always start with the close knit and then we expand. So that's the reason we are looking at it. So we had our Christmas party with our community. We are having an Easter party with our community. And then we are planning World Goa Day, which is going to be open for everyone. It's a wider project where we can welcome all the communities, everyone from Bletchley. So it's going to bring a very good event for Bletchley. We're looking out for a bigger event.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair, thank you. Just following on from Keith, sorry.
Yes.
Can't easily turn around, so do less. Just following on from what Councillor Keith said, just to clarify, you are asking us to invest, I sound like a dragon now, give you £1,500
Yes.
towards the Easter event only.
Yes.
So this is not for the Going World Day, this is just for the Easter one. Okay, so the Easter one, is that open to the wider community?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so
open
it's
to
not
everyone.
just restricted to your community,
No.
it's just that's where you're focusing your
Yes.
attention. Okay, can I just ask then as a final point, if I may, Chair, what opportunities are you looking for to open this up to the wider community then, to promote it to others? Is there something that the council perhaps can do? I know it's the 7th of April, isn't it?
Yes. Something.
Obviously, because it's Easter. So is there something that you're looking at from us to maybe support you with in
We can
addition to
advertise it.
1,500?
Sorry. We can advertise it on the council portrayal or something like that. I'm very new to this, so sorry if I say something that I shouldn't be saying. So you can advertise it in a larger way. Here what happens, we are advertising in a smaller way because we don't have funds. So we have to think and invest and do things. But if we have it on a larger scale, we can also expect larger crowd and even out communities. Now when we advertise is basically through church and their friends and their relatives. So it's basically bound to the community because it's all from there. It's not, we are not growing. So if we have it through the council sites or something like that, definitely we will grow.
Fantastic, thank you.
Someone over here.
Sorry, your overall project cost 3,500, is that right? That seems quite a lot for 100 people.
Yes.
Because I do events, but that just seems quite a bit much for up to 100 people. Or was you expanding that if you get the...
No, we are sticking to 100 people for now because the capacity of the hall is that much. But what happens, since we're having live band, we're having food, which is going to be a variety of, is going to be coming from London side. And then we are also going to have a lot of games and hampers and all that stuff. So it does add to it, and especially the deco as well.
Where are you hosting it?
New Bradwell?
So not in Bletchley.
Parish?
Can I ask how many of the residents will be coming from Bletchley postcode?
Maximum of them are from Bletchley postcode.
But everybody?
Maximum, yeah.
When you say maximum, how many?
There might be around 2 or 3 coming from London side or something like that. That's it. And more than that.
So, sorry, I'm not finished. So you've got Milton Keynes as a community.
Yes.
From Milton Keynes.
Yes.
But it's everyone's from Bletchley.
Yes, because what happened when we see the idea of having this Goan community is what we all have gone through COVID, the loneliness and not having to socialize. So that was the main reason that we wanted families together and socialize. So when you, as I said before, we start with the closer knit, and that's how we have done. So if we have somebody coming from out and saying we want to be a part, we can't say no. So that's the reason we kept it as MK Goan community. So everybody is welcome, not only the postcode, because when we started this, we did not think of the council. We thought of the community initially.
So what you're saying is the majority of people that are coming from Bletchley.
Yes.
And have you asked anybody else for funding?
No, we haven't. No.
We're the only ones.
The thing is, we thought of asking for funding because we also wanted to have an Easter event. And there were many people who were asking that, would you all do it? And we were like, we had a Christmas party, which was just hit and run. We had to put from our pockets kind of money to meet up to the expenses. So we said, no, we can't do the New Year party. So because of funding, we did not have a New Year party. Now we're trying to socialize again since the winter is going, spring is coming. So we thought that we can socialize again.
Right.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments really. I think this, my kind of view is actually we need to be encouraging communities to meet and to pull people together from, particularly within the community whether it's a minority, whether that's open for outside or not. I think it's important that these events are there because it's important to celebrate as your community, and there are ties that you can bring in and shared experiences, all of that sort of stuff, which really matter, and in safe places as well. So on that basis, I think it's really good. I think it's really great that you've got people, quite a lot of your people will be from Bletchley, I just hope to see more, and I'm quite excited by it. So I don't know much about the Groningen community, so I'm very interested to learn some more.
Yeah, growing coming.
Yeah, growing community.
Okay, any other questions?
With grants and the council, just to let you know what some of the criteria is. Sometimes we're funding projects. We tend to ask for a comprehensive business plan to see how you're going to be progressing, moving forward, what your plans, what's your aspirations, and normally what we normally do is fund stuff locally for people in Bletchley. So the funds come and they go towards people in Bletchley, which is fine. But what we do ask for is a comprehensive business plan in respect of, will you be coming back next year for more funds? Are you going to be self-funding? What's your 3-year plan type situation?
Sure.
And obviously we...
Sorry, go on.
Obviously you've got the bigger event.
Yes.
Which will then include more people outside of your community.
Yes.
So it will be opened up to lots more different people to come in and have a look at you. So I'm just saying that,
I think the clerk wants to come in.
Yeah, we don't normally ask for a business plan. We ask people to complete the grant application for the specific event. If people choose to share with us their business plan, that's helpful, but it's not something we specifically ask for. I think it's important to make that clear.
Yeah. Well, what it is that I just need to know whether, you're going to be coming back next year for another grant, or whether it be something where you're going to be coming back to Bletchley Fenny Stratford Town Council specifically, or you're going to be opening up to other people in Milton Keynes, other councils to get grants.
This time we have come for the grant because we are falling short of money, and because we have less people coming in. Next time when we do an event, we might not need the grant because we might have enough of our people to support us, not us.
Thank you.
If it's helpful, Chair, that there are funds in the grant budget for this financial year. I would suggest that something that members could think about is that test that's always used with section 139 of will the amount of benefit for the wider community be commensurate with the amount that is spent, which I think is a really good test to use for any grant application. And I just draw that to your attention, because obviously this is a matter for you to determine.
Okay.
So when you start your bigger events, will you look at getting halls in Bletchley, coming to us and say, can we hire your halls? Because we've got a few halls, but so would you be bringing it into our community?
Definitely. Yes. But actually, when we were looked at New Bradwell, we tried all the halls in Bletchley and they were not available. And we were looking for the 1st of April, actually. But because it's a bank holiday, it was very difficult to get it. And even this hall we checked, and it was like, no, we don't work because it's a bank holiday. And that's the reason we had to go to New Bradwell.
Okay.
And had to change the date as well.
Thank you, Axel.
Did you have any questions about that?
Not really. I think the clerk actually.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. I'm going to turn around. Just one more question, if you don't mind. And I know nothing about food.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a vegetarian, so I just wanted to double check, will there be vegetarian options?
Yes.
Excellent. And on the back of that, if you don't mind, with the food budget being the biggest position on the breakdown in point 7, Well, pardon me, where is the food coming from here? Because
It's a catering
it's a
company.
lot of food, yeah, the catering.
It's a
Okay.
catering company. It's going to provide it, and it's going to have around 7 to 8 dishes.
Okay,
So they're going to have starters, which is going to be 3 starters, and then they're going to have veg and the other meats as well.
yeah,
All the meats that are available apart from fish.
fantastic. Okay, that sounds like a lot. I've organised a large party. I'll bear that in mind, but it just, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, but the catering company is not affiliated with you personally or any of the members of that committee?
No.
Excellent, okay, cool, in that case. Thank you very much. And
If other members don't have any questions, I've got to say. I can see on the breakdown of your costs, it adds up to £2,070. But earlier on in the form, you said the total cost of the project is £3,500. So there's a difference of £1,430. What is that for?
We have kept that as a miscellaneous because we come with one budget always, and we land up losing on things. So it might be the decor, or it might be you never know if something happens to the hall, damage or any damages or anything. So we have just kept a buffer in between.
So I understand that. Unfortunately, councils don't really like miscellaneous because they need to know we're not allowed to actually have it. We need to know what we're actually spending our money on.
Okay.
Because obviously it's taxpayers' money that is being granted. So perhaps you might want to just explain to the councillors what you might be spending the £1,430 on, so that they can consider whether they would be willing to, to fund the difference. Now, I get that you're only asking for £1,500, but there is a difference in the total cost of the event and what you break down in cost. So I just think it would be good to explain.
See, now the food that is coming from London, they are going to charge us £150 transport for coming and going. That's going to be one.
About expenses about nearly about coming up to about £350.
And we have drinks, because the caterers don't provide you with drinks. The soft drinks, the water, the tablecloth, the decor, everything is needs to be considered. Easter eggs, we spend quite 60 to 70 pounds because we're having big hampers as to be given. Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you. And then my final question was, I saw in the presentation that that a lot of you are affiliated with the parish church of St Thomas Aquinas, which is Catholic Church in Bletchley.
Yes.
Now, so first of all, I want to say I'm a Christian and I hope everybody finds Jesus in their life. However, this is what we have to be very careful of are events that the council supports which are targeted at a particular group. So I just want to ask the question, is this open to kind of all faiths and, or is it just supporting your group from your church? So, yeah.
It's welcome to all faiths.
All faiths.
Or no faiths.
All no faith. Actually, you need to say, if you can say, it's welcome to everyone. Everyone who is wanting to be a part. Why
Thank
not?
you. Yeah. I believe that somebody else had a question, but I think it was you, Rob.
No. Just one other observation, just because I do food and hospitality. £1,100 is like about £100 a head on food. It seems a little bit expensive.
It is expensive.
£100 a head.
I don't think it's £100.
No, £100 a head. No, it's from 12
it's about 80 to 100 people coming. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not
£10.
Well, the overall event cost is at 3,500. For 100 is £35. Any other questions from members?
No. I think we should just go to a vote now.
Is there a proposal?
I propose that we part pay it.
Okay.
Part.
Does anybody else want to do anything else? What's the amount that you would specifically say?
750.
Okay, does any member want to do anything else?
Well, there is another one which is, well, 970, but it's £1,000 if you like, because what I've done,
I'm
I
happy
picked
to
out.
change it, Keith.
I know. No, seriously, but in other words, if the suggestion was we pay for specific things.
Yeah.
For instance, venue, music insurance, and the hampers, etc.
Yeah, that's right.
That comes to nearly £1,000. What we're not paying for, basically, here is the food, which I assume the participants will either pay for or contribute towards. Can I?
Yes, you may.
Amend, thank you. I would amend it to 1,000.
Okay, is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that.
All those in favour of that thingy? Anybody against? Any abstentions? I believe that has been carried unanimously. So the council has agreed to fund you £1,000. I think John will be in touch to get this money paid over to your accounts.
Thank you.
It would of course be great if you can come back to us and give us any pictures or any kind of content.
Definitely do when we come back.
That kind of so that we can publicise that as well. But thank you very much. You do not have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to, but if you want to, you're more than welcome. Okay.
I will leave. I've got my kids at home.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for your time and considering us.
Just a reminder where we are.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Hope you all will join as well.
So now we're on to this.
You ask Captain Landers. So now there is no item for public speaking this evening. So the next item would be item number 5, to note the draft minutes of recent meetings of committees of the council and to consider any recommendations herein. So first of all, 5.1, pages 9 to 10, minutes of the meeting of community committee on the 13th of January. I do not believe that there are any recommendations.
No recommendation.
Okay, everybody happy with those? Okay, thank you. 5.2, Tuesday the 20th of February of meeting of the Employment Policy Committee.
Again, no recommendations.
Thank you, no recommendations. Those, everybody happy with those minutes? Thank you. Next item, 5.3, which is the Finance and Governance Committee on Tuesday the 27th of February, pages 17 to 56 in your pack. No recommendations?
2 recommendations.
Okay.
One is to, I don't know if the chair of the committee wants to.
Do you want to take those?
Okay, yep. It's on page 18. The Finance Committee on 104. It was resolved to note the review of the effectiveness of internal audit and to recommend to full council on the 26th of March.
It needs to be approved by.
So it's for your approval.
Okay, members, are you happy to, can you read out the, again?
Yeah, the committee recommended that the review of the effectiveness of the internal audit and internal controls for the financial year just finishing, which is included in the pack, should be approved.
Okay, so members, you have a recommendation from the Finance and Governance Committee to adopt this. Members of this full council are equally accountable for the finances of this council, and by making a positive determination on this issue, you are saying that you have agreed that we have controls. So all those in favour of the recommendation.
Yes. Before we go to that point, just go for the internal audit. One of the suggested areas for development was more detailed input from members on terms of reference would still be helpful. How do we envisage that happening across the next financial year? Is that going to be done by the Finance Committee or some other way?
Normally what would happen is that the finance manager will ask the Finance Committee for suggestions about any issues that they feel the internal auditor should be looking at specifically. In previous years, we've had very little in the way of suggestions. So I suppose that's why that's there, because that is potentially a weakness in the system if we're not having the input of members. It's left to officers to make that recommendation.
Yeah,
So
excellent. That's part of why.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go to the vote then. All those in favour of the resolution? Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? Okay, I believe that that is you.
Second one, Chair. Page 19.
Yeah.
Reference 106. Resolved to note the review and recommend to full council on today's date. It was resolved to authorise officers to implement the actions highlighted in red. That is on the annual financial risk assessment. So it's for the council to agree.
The council needs to approve the risk assessment as well as authorising the officers to undertake the items.
Okay.
Just a quick one. On page 29 on C1 about the theft, fraud and property crimes by staff, it says members are not proactively carrying out regular scrutiny. That's basically similar to what Edward said before. How would you see us being able to get more involved in that?
We did discuss that in some detail at the committee meeting on the last
okay.
And a number of councillors volunteered to come in and scrutinise the bank statements against invoices. So we can keep that under review and report back, but we've got people who've agreed to come in on a monthly basis.
Thank you. I think there's about 4 members.
I think about 4 members agreed to do that.
So
if you'd ever like to do it, councillors, you're very welcome anytime.
members all happy with the resolution to adopt the document and the training requirements feed in? All those in favour? Anybody against? And any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. And the final set of minutes are the Environment and Planning Committee of Tuesday the 19th of March, pages 57 to 60 in your pack. Are there any recommendations?
Yes, there's one recommendation.
Okay.
But no, to present that.
Did you want to present it or?
It's item number 7.2, and it was about the opportunity to bid for landscaping services at Stoke Camp within the parish of Stoke Camp. Because it's a new activity that council would not have undertaken before, it needs to be approved by council.
Yeah, so the Stoke Hammond Council have requested a quotation for the landscape services from our council. I believe we've got the resources and the capabilities for it. Yeah, I think it's something that obviously needs to come to full council for a vote.
Yeah, we're not asking for comment on the detail of the quote, it's the principle of the.
I think just going back to that, before we take questions, just going back to when the committee met in confidential session and discussed the finances, and they were happy with the quote that was given, and that the council would not be subsidising another council in terms of the service to be provided. If members feel that they want more information about that, then I think we would have to go into confidential session in order to discuss that. But I'm sure members will be happy to update you afterwards. Ed, you had a question.
Whilst I accept that there's been discussion at the committee, I mean, this is actually there's some points there to consider, and I would not necessarily be happy in terms of voting on this at this particular moment in time. But one of my key questions, so you've answered one of them about in terms of subsidy. It's a distinct nature providing a service for our community as in our parish versus becoming a contractor essentially for another area or another organisation. And what does that mean in terms of particularly around our human resources? in terms of how we develop and where our staffing sits, because I mean, I've not necessarily seen that as chair of the employment committee. I would have liked to have, I would have liked to have seen something on this, and particularly around the future ambitions in terms of the landscaping service that we offer in our parish. Does this have any implications in terms of our level of resource of our operatives?
I think it does, and I think we've discussed this in some detail at the committee. I think we wanted to respond to the request from Stoke Hammond as promptly as possible, which is why it hasn't been to an employment committee. But there was a full report from the Environment and Premises Manager, supported by me. I believe we do have the capacity to deliver a piece of work for which we've quoted. And if we were to undertake that work, it would give our landscape team an opportunity to work within the wider community of Newton Lees. We think it's a fairly small piece of work, the piece we've quoted for. We've not quoted for everything that we were asked to quote for, because we felt that if we did, that would have a detrimental effect on the service that we were offering. So we have considered it, the committee considered it very carefully. But I think in principle, it's really important that you think about whether you are prepared to do this. I think the benefit to our parishioners would be that it's a small piece of work which we could incorporate without detriment, and there would be income from it, which would
before we come to these questions, I think it might be helpful to kind of advise members it is not to actually undertake landscaping for Stoke Hammond, is to actually undertake landscaping for the portion of Newton Lees which falls within Stoke Hammond. So in what would essentially be happening is this council over the coming year or so will actually take responsibility for landscaping the bits of Newton Lees which Taylor Wimpey currently do, and our teams would be driving past land that it falls in Stoke Hammond parish, which is ready to be adopted because the greater part of Newton Lees is about 1,850 houses, and the bit that falls within Stoke Hammond is 350. So actually the landscaping team would have to be here in Newton Lees anyway to do the work, and would actually have to drive past the sites where the work would be undertaken. I think it was Keith and then Axel.
I think this arrangement makes sense out of a stupid boundary. And you know, I really do, because I'm literally, we'll finish off partway up a path or a verge and say, well, sorry, that's the end of our boundary. We turn around and come back. Thank you. Good idea.
I think just to add to that, actually, we may find that and I think it's already happened, residents from the other side of the boundary actually contact us. So we would also have resources in redirecting, finding out where they live and then redirecting them back to somebody else. So it's actually good if we can just go, yeah, we do that. And Axel.
Yeah, but thank you for calling that out, Councillor. And I propose that we adopt that recommendation and provide the quote.
I'll come back to you in a second. You had a question.
So my question was, have we? So we're providing a quote at the moment, and if we provide a quote, how does that tie us in if we were then to be selected as the contractor? And secondly, just to understand, what is the, bearing in mind that we are not necessarily the quality in that section, is there any reputational risks that we may well take by taking on this thing in terms of the perceptions of residents and us carrying out the work, and therefore are we carrying that risk instead of Stoke Hammond Parish Council? And I think we need to understand. I want to understand that better if I'm going to support a recommendation. And I know at the moment the recommendation is only around quotation, not necessarily of we would accept.
I think
and that becomes a very grey area.
Yeah, I think in my capacity as clerk, I don't think we should offer the quotation if we're not prepared to deliver the service.
So we have a proposal to go with the recommendation. So we're going to vote on that first, but I note your point. Does anybody else have a question before I come back?
Can I address Councillor Hugh's concern?
Yeah.
I think there's an absolutely valid concern about our reputational risk. And I would say that in this case, as Councillor Ethan has very kindly explained the situation, and Keith as well, if you told me as a normal resident, I would say this is madness. Please just do it. Because the reputational risk I think we are facing by not doing it is that, you know, our constituents will quite rightly say, this is exactly the kind of bureaucracy and this madness of boundaries, and it's just a waste of everybody's time and money. So I think that's a higher reputational risk, in my opinion, than anything that might happen. But
I think so also to kind of highlight this issue, you may not know because Taylor Wimpey actually have a regionalised office structure, and they actually had 2 different divisions of Taylor Wimpey building here. That side of the road was Taylor Wimpey South Midlands, based in Milton Keynes. That side of the road was Taylor Wimpey North Thames, built, and they're based in Boreham Wood. South Midlands cut their grass on a different cycle to this side of the road. And so basically, you'd have residents that complained that would be going, well, I've just seen someone cut the grass over there. Why isn't the grass being cut over here? And that actually happens, and the residents complain about it now. And actually, to everybody, they're just like, it's Taylor Wimpey. They don't understand. They don't understand that. I think that there's probably more personally, as the person living here, I think there's more reputational risk from not kind of going, do you know what, let's make it easy for the residents to have one contact to contact, whilst, and actually I think it's a matter of the Stoke Hammond to actually be doing the engagement with their residents. We would just be doing the work under contract. Back to you, Ed.
In terms of just, I talked about staffing before, but in terms of management oversight and additional demands and in terms of maintaining that, I mean, it's another relationship and another group of residents. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad idea, but I've just got, and we talked about scrutiny a moment ago in terms of our governance report and our risk management. Actually, this is what we're here to function as well. So don't take my questions as being I'm not necessarily supportive in the principle, but I do need to make sure that we are asking the right questions, given the nature of this authority. We are responsible collectively as a body and individually. I won't get into that. But in terms of the demands on management time, not just the operatives in terms of, it's easy when I can see how you can say an operative can move from one area to the other, especially if they're past that area. But in terms of that additional management and the back office, and the front office in terms of our customer service demand, how is that being factored into the quotation?
We always factor in, whenever we look at any activity that we're going to undertake, we always think about the management and administrative elements of any task. So that's been taken into consideration. And in terms of the quotation, we weren't provided with a detailed specification by Stoke Hammond Parish Council. So we have quoted on the basis of the same service standard that we provide within our area. So it's the same number of grass cuts essentially, because primarily it's all grass cutting. So it's the same number of grass cuts, and we would just extend it by the number of extra hours per round of grass cuts. And we feel confident that we have the capacity to provide that at the moment. We declined to quote on some of the other aspects of work, and it may well be that Stoke Hammond just aren't interested in us because we're not quoting on all of the work. But we did not feel that the other elements of the work that they asked us to quote for were remotely feasible within our capacity. So we've only quoted for the section of the work that we think we could do within our capacity. Going forward, if and when we do take on more landscaping in Newton Lees, then we'd need to review the situation. But the amount of work that we'd be doing in Stoke Hammond it's so small, it wouldn't really affect in and of itself, it's not sufficient resource to make or break our situation. We need more resources anyway to take on the landscaping in Newton Lees.
Thank you.
Just to put it into context, we've got over 8,000 properties in our patch, and we're working in an extra 350. It's a pretty small amount of.
I've got one more question.
No, God, sorry, I'm going to go to Terry.
So the leftovers is the hedge cutting and the trees and shrubs. So there's a chance that we could have nice lawns there and then still got shrubs hanging. If the same contract doesn't do everything.
We won't cut grass in an area that is populated by trees. We'll only be cutting grass in areas that are grass. It'd be a grass cutting contract.
There's a proposal, I second the proposal.
Okay. What is your final question then?
My final question is, given the fact that we have not necessarily taken on all the areas in our patch at the moment, in terms of that balance of resources, for example, we've not taken on the regeneration spots in the Lakes Estate, and we intend to do that as part of our plans. At the moment, we've got this list of capacity. Is that capacity still going to be there when we're taking those regeneration areas and other areas? I might be asking you to put a finger in our eye.
It's hard to know. Not necessarily. All I can say is that this piece of work is a fairly small piece of work. But depending on what happens with the housing regeneration and so on, we may well be looking at a completely different scenario. So I would say we wouldn't be wanting to sign up to do this work for the next 5 years. We'd be perhaps offering to do it for a year.
Okay, so Eamon.
When we discussed this at the meeting, I asked if they're going to spray around the trees or trim them when we mowed it. He said they're going to trim it around the trees. So we are mowing around the trees, just not touching it. Well, that's what he told us at the last meeting. We wouldn't be flailing the hedge because the sods planted the trees too close to the hedge, so you can't get a machine down there. But he did say he'd be stripping, because I asked that specific question.
Well, I wasn't at the meeting. All I know is the information that I've got to hand. If you think you've got insufficient information to make this decision, we need to defer it to the next full council.
I think that we've got a proposal and a seconder. We're going to go to a vote now.
We've also got a recommendation from the committee, which is you don't actually need a proposal and a seconder when you've got a recommendation from the committee.
So we are going to go to the vote in any case. So all those in favour of adopting the recommendation, all those against, and any abstentions. Okay, so I think that was carried unanimously.
Chair.
Thank you.
I have one more thing, please. Not about this item, you'd be happy to know. And this is about the actual meeting minutes. I would like to put forward the fact that I was in fact present, albeit virtually.
Yes.
And I did send my apologies.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's an amendment to the minutes for the environment and
That's still draft minutes, so they can easily be altered.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to the agenda points. So item number 6, to review and comment on planning applications due to be considered by Milton Keynes Council. 6.1, 3 Taylor Close, Eton Lees, Milton Keynes, MK17, GN.
Chair, I need to apologise to the committee for this, but when these 2 planning applications were added to the agenda, the wrong details were attached to this item. It is a proposed loft conversion with rear dormer, including Juliet balconies, and relocation of the solar panels on this property in Eton Lees. And I don't think those, I think that the hyperlink that was provided is for the wrong application.
Okay.
So it's a matter for you whether you wish to comment. I've reviewed the application. I don't know if anyone followed the hyperlink and realised that it was the wrong application. But it's a matter for you as a committee to decide what you want to do about this.
Any comments?
Apologise.
No. So members wish to make no comments. Okay. Next item 55 Simpson Road.
This did have the correct information.
Okay, so that is the erection of a single-storey rear extension, demolition of existing garage, and erection of new garage. Any comments on this? No, no comment from members. Okay, thank you. Next item 7, to consider a response to the Regulation 14 consultation on Stoke Hammond Neighbourhood Plan in the Town Council's capacity as a consultee. Anything you want to speak to with this?
No, except to say that we are a statutory consultee on the Stoke Hammond Neighbourhood Plan because our boundary is coterminous with theirs in parts. And you've had the links for all the relevant documents. I have no recommendations to make.
Okay. Any questions from members? So I think something for me to point out to members, I have been through the document. One of the things that Stoke Hammond Neighbourhood Plan is proposing is that the majority of the future development within the parish of Stoke Hammond actually takes place to the west of Newton Lees, so i.e. not within their actual village boundary, so within their parish, but not, as part of their village. And I think it would be directly next to land that is already within the parish of Stoke Hammond. One of the concerns I think that the council has had before is about the facilities that are being used, because essentially there may not be many facilities that are provided for those residents, and whether they will be using facilities from elsewhere. I do note that within the plan that actually the council has proposed that any developer would be responsible for building a multi-use games area and other equipment in that location. But I just want to point out that is a part of the plan. Any questions, Ed?
Broadly, it's all fine. I mean, that land looks like it would probably come forward at some point, either through the Buckinghamshire local plan or via a neighbourhood plan. One thing that I do think we need to be careful of, and we just need to stress, is where we've had some development that's happened on the edge of the town, whether that's in Milton Keynes City Council boundaries or in Buckinghamshire Council boundaries, we have had issues. It's not necessarily just about community facilities, and I think that's been addressed reasonably okay. I think the other thing that we just need to bear in mind is actually access between the two areas, and so that means making sure that there is, to be really clear, I can't see much in here about transport links and how that links in terms of foot, pedestrian, cycle, and actually also sometimes public transport link into the rest of the community. Hold on, Ethan. And then I would also say, in terms of whether there's any influence in terms of the design standards, because of it being so close in terms of Milton Keynes, should it have the same design standards as which are much, in my personal opinion, they are much better developed for new estates around Milton Keynes than some of the Buckinghamshire standards are. And should we be encouraging that should be part of the thing? So it's actually in a very similar standard to the existing Newton Lees area.
Okay. To come back on the question of access, my understanding is that there will be no access for vehicles from within Newton Lees. You would actually leave the front of Newton Lees and come in at the side. And actually, we actually have lands that we own very close to the site, but they wouldn't actually need to use our lands to actually access this site. My understanding is the area of Newton Lees that is within Stoke Hammond, which is codenamed Newton Lee South. They follow the highway standards for Milton Keynes, but they do not follow the design standards for Milton Keynes. So it may be that if anybody has any proposals, they might want to put that forward, but just answering your points from the knowledge that I have.
Okay, that's great. You've answered some of that. I don't necessarily think that negates having something in our response about it, and particularly around non-vehicular movement into and out of that area.
Say something on the design, the issue of design. They have got a design code in their plan, and of course Milton Keynes City Council's design code will be reviewed under the new city plan anyway. The consultation on design code seems to be placing more emphasis on individual town and parish council neighbourhood plans having a say on design. So it's not surprising that Hammond chosen their own design code, but that doesn't mean we should comment on it. Yeah. I'm just thinking about our own neighbourhood plan and what might be included in our neighbourhood plan.
Okay.
On this matter.
Is there any other questions or comments in relation to this? And does anybody want to put a proposal forward? Oh, Ish, sorry.
Yes, went through the pre-submission plan. I mean, there's some good ideas in it. I mean, the Mount Pleasant Green, just off Leighton Road, making that look a lot nicer. It's something that a lot of residents of Bletchley, Fenny, Stratford, probably an area that they do drive through in that sense. There's a lot of emphasis on the local green space and protecting it, and having this local green space network as well, which again would probably overlap with some of the neighbourhood plan green spaces and cycleways that we would have in our neighbourhood plan. I think the main comment for me is just sort of echoing what Ed said in terms of the connectivity, because I do believe that there are a lot of people from Stoke Hammond that would come into Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council area, contribute to the economy, go to the shops, that sort of stuff, and not necessarily in terms of cars, but in terms of cycleways or even footpaths, making better links in that sense. I think that's, from my point of view, is something that we could comment on.
But I do believe that the document actually says that they wanted to have pedestrian and cycle access, but not necessarily vehicle access through their site. Okay, so does anybody want to put forward some comments that we can ask the officer team to respond on?
I would propose that we strengthen the need for allowing the connectivity, particularly particularly in the early stages of any development. I'll think in particular for West Newton Leith early on, because what we do not want is the people of South Newton Leith where residents are isolated and they do not have any way that they can get in and off unless they have a car or they're rich enough to afford lots and lots of taxis.
Okay. Any other comments to add to that?
Ethan.
Sorry.
With regards to connectivity on 0.5.13, the policy does map a network of pathways connecting other parishes around the settlement area. So I do believe that they have taken into consideration footpaths, cycleways and riddleways to connect the neighbouring parishes, because that is mentioned as part of the package plan.
I just didn't feel like in terms of their write-up, there wasn't much emphasis in it in terms of their policy ideas. I mean, I know it was in the map that they have got the local green space network, I think they called it, which shows the cycleways and the footpaths in that sense. But I think should be a bit more emphasis in there. I just kind of feel like we're neighbours and should have been mentioned in a bit more detail in their neighbourhood plan.
Okay. Anyone else got any comments? No? Is there anything?
Just that one point on strengthening the connectivity.
And I feel it's provided early on.
provided I've got avoiding the police situation.
Okay, if you are happy to amend something, I also think that, so in terms of the connectivity, some of the paths, so they're talking about connectivity to other parishes. Essentially, there's a bit that comes into our area, which I think will be connected well. Actually, at the other end of the footpath, or the formal boundary footpath that goes around the Milton Keynes Council area, I think it's called footpath number 28. There is going as you get towards Newton Longville, actually is in a really bad condition. And one of the things that I've asked Taylor Wimpey to do as part of a planning application they've got at the moment is whether they can actually look at that footpath. I also would think that we should be asking for Section 106 contributions towards enhancement of the footpaths and connectivity in the area for those that already exist. And, you know, I think that as we have a redway system in Milton Keynes, we should actually be suggesting that it should meet the redway standards.
Connect with the redways.
Yeah. Any other comments? Do you accept that?
I accept that, provided it connects us to the other redway.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments? No, so I think that we shall move on. So now to item number 9, to note 9.1, pages 75 to 76 in your pack, to note a summary financial report showing income and expenditure against budget to date. Any questions on this? Okay, so I take it there are no questions in relation to this. So I shall take that item as noted. Are members happy? Okay, 9.2, to review a projection for year-end results 2023-2024. That's pages 77 to 80 in your pack. Any comments from members? Okay, so I'm sorry.
We're predicting now a 100k surplus, which is, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But in terms of that surplus, in terms of what happens with that money now, is that something that we would, I mean, we will make a decision at some point around where that's at the end of the financial year. But I've not necessarily gone down this in a line by line, but do we know where the majority of that surplus has been generated from?
Yeah.
So we can understand where we've raised tax in the past for that.
There is a note on page 79 pack which explains the main reasons for the 100,000 underspend. Partly, a large part of it is interest payments. We did not project, we have no way of knowing what interest rate would be this year. So that's a large part of it. But we have more interest than we expected. There's also been the youth services, the refurb of Albert Street toilets didn't take place within this financial year. And we had a small amount allocated for light refurbishment. That piece of work, the refurbishment of Albert Street toilets, will be coming back to council on the basis of conversations I've been having recently with Milton Keynes City Council about the tenure situation there. So that money hasn't been spent this year, but will potentially be spent. And we've reported previously on the information and advice service that has not been provided that's the final item of citizens advice, and that item was taken out of the budget for next year, so that situation again. So I think it's all explicable.
Yeah, I can see that. I think just in terms of thinking about these next steps, and I'm not saying this is a formal recommendation, I think, because actually we'll come to making a decision, but I assume 47k is partly also because of the way the financing of the a lot of the reserves are based on the buildings.
Yeah.
So my strong feelings on this, and I just want to express them now so you can think be thought about in the work, is that the money that's not necessarily the surplus that's just been generated from these areas should in theory go back into things around those areas.
Yes.
Not necessarily, it might not be direct what they were, but
yes,
provision in some sort of way for those types of, maybe it's a one-off thing, maybe it's an ongoing thing. 47k for the interest probably should go towards the building project.
So what will happen as a sort of everything will go back into the general reserve,
yeah.
And then it'll be for the council to decide which what it wants to do with that additional contribution to the general reserve, and that will probably happen at either next full council completed the year-end activities.
So is that then noted by everybody? Thank you. Okay. 9.3, to ratify a list of payments made or due to be made by the council before the next meeting of the Finance and Governance Committee. This is pages 81 to 86 in your pack. Any questions? No. So council is happy to ratify. Great. Read, very good. Next item on the agenda is item 10. Item 10 is Sycamore Buildings project. So it's 10.1. There's been an item tabled this evening,
This which
is asking you to note the outcome of the Town Council's recent consultation on the Sycamore Buildings project and to consider the next steps. The consultation ends on Sunday the 24th of April, and documents will be provided. Full documentation will be, is that correct then? 24th of April.
Will be provided on 30th of April.
Okay, so information will be provided to the council meeting on the 30th of April.
So this is just a summary. This is a summary of the consultation. It only shows the results of questionnaires that were completed. The full report will show you the reach, how many people viewed the social media.
If you, I think none of us have.
It's single-sided, Delia. We've got a fine. You've got the one the figures on to read about.
That's what I was thinking of. Everyone seeing where the blue stands for.
Well, so no more suspense then. In favour of the Town Council delivering the renovation project to Sycamore Buildings, the response, yes, I'm in favour of the Council's proposal, was 79.35%. And no, I'm not in favour of the Council's proposal, was 20.65%. Do you support the Council's proposal to borrow up to 750,000 through the Public Works Loan Board to deliver the planned renovations? In support, 74.19%, and not in support, 25.81%. I think it's fair to say it was fairly low response rate, but as I say, the detailed report will show you the reach, how many people looked at the advert, how many times people looked at the advert, and how many people clicked through to the survey but then didn't complete it. So on the next occasion, you have that detailed report, and you will also have the one-page sheet that is required by DLUC if you wish to proceed with a borrowing application. So that paperwork will all be ready for 30th of April.
Members have any questions or comments?
Well, comments, it's fairly conclusive, isn't it? I mean, the people that want us to go ahead with something is 4 to 1 in favour. And the fact that they want us to borrow is 3 to 1 in favour. If you're getting elected on that basis, you're doing pretty well. Okay, Ian?
Any comments?
No, it's pretty conclusive. I think we now need to proceed with the project.
I think on the anecdotal stuff that I've seen and received on on social media channels, there has been an odd comment of, I think it's more been people not fully understanding what the plan is for that building and actually just how much work is going to be done to that building. So I think it's all stuff that's that is explained away. And yes, I think that it's disappointing that we've only had a small section of the community that have actually gone and responded. But I think that other than the toilets, I cannot remember a consultation where we've had more responses than that. So yes. Okay, so we are all happy to note the report and to consider the next steps.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Thank you. The second item.
Are we going to consider the next steps then, or are we? Yeah.
Well, I think when I prepared the agenda, I didn't know what the outcome of the consultation was going to be. So I now do know what the outcome of the consultation was. And I have had, Will and I had a meeting with the architect last week to go through rooms, schedules, and to look at some potential architectural changes that will need to be considered. So we need to have another meeting to review those. So that will be one of the next steps that we need to do. We also need to proceed with the next item on the agenda, which is a next step, which I assume you now will wish to go ahead with, which is this specialist quotation, which is commercially sensitive, so it is restricted. So I would like to move on to that if that's great. And then if members think there are any further steps that we should be taking at this stage, no doubt you will make them known.
Okay, so item 10.2, pages 87 to 90 in your pack, there is a quote from contractor number 1, which is for ground investigation works for which will be supervised by a geotechnical engineer, and they will create excavations, arisings, etc., and boreholes, and will send some items to a laboratory testing. I'm going to ask Ish, have you had a chance to kind of read this? Because I think this is
I haven't, in all honesty, as it was restricted, I wasn't able to get access to it. So,
okay. Is there any questions or comments that we've got from members? Axel?
Do we need more than this one quote, or is this just a...
No, I'm going to ask you to suspend standing orders and to consider this piece of business on the basis of one quote only, because I haven't been able to get an equivalent quote from a specialist contractor like this. It just wasn't possible to do it.
Wow, that sounds very specialist. Okay.
Yeah.
My question is why is it necessary? The building has been sitting there for 50 odd years, and as far as I know, it hasn't moved, and the ground conditions are the same now as they, or similar now they were before.
It's needed in order to prepare to complete the survey and the schedules that the different specialist people are undertaking for us. One of the issues they've got to look at, and I understand the work is covered in this quotation, is the impact of the removal of the mezzanine, which could have an impact on the foundations of the building, of the barn. So that's why this is a very specialist piece of work.
I'm guessing from the comments of the first page of this document as well, the new building that's going to be built between the two buildings, they're also talking about the impact of the drainage being where it is. And actually, if that's, we know that part of the design is there's currently a slope which leads up to the drainage at the top, and actually we want to level that. And so I think that that's another point that's kind of mentioned here, so that's probably what it is.
Just seems like a heck of a lot, if that's what it's all about. Taking the mezzanine floor out. The mezzanine floor wasn't there originally when the barn was built.
We don't know why the mezzanine was put in, do we?
It used to be a kitchen, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the nursery.
Yes, but we don't know whether there was a structural reason for it being put in.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I mean, they haven't allowed for a contamination assessment because it was a barn previously, I believe. There could potentially be a risk of contamination from like hydrocarbons and oils and diesels that might have just, been dumped in the ground or dropped from any generators that they might have had in that sense. I mean, they will give us a ground investigation, which always changes. The groundwater table level is on a trend of rising, and that'll obviously impact the foundation design if there is going to be any sort of changes structurally. I mean, apart from that, it's fairly sort of straightforward. I mean, they're doing some concrete core samples for the windows. I assume that's for compressive strength testing, is it?
I think so, but I am not. I'm not an engineer, and what it was explained to me was that it was to do with the mezzanine.
Yeah, so there's probably going to be deep crushing tests basically on it.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Ishmael. I'm just want to check an assumption that the architects have seen this particular quote and they are okay with it and they get what they feel they need. Because I'm assuming again that they're the ones who said we need this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, from my understanding, this has gone to the structural engineer from the architect, the structural engineer, and this quotation, as you can see, is addressed to the structural engineer.
Gotcha.
And I believe that the structural engineer is asked for this in order that they can give their advice. Fantastic. So actually, if we don't do it, the structural advice might not want to give that advice. So I think maybe a situation where we have Hobson's choice here. Any other questions? No? Okay. Do we have a proposal?
I'm happy to propose it.
Okay.
Can I just make a point of order? There was a mention by the clerk that we should suspend standing orders.
I didn't mean suspend standing orders. I mean, we should use the part of the financial regulations which allows us to proceed with one quote when it's a specialist contract.
Because you mentioned standing orders, which is why.
Yeah, sorry, that was shorthand. I was thinking of standing orders and financial regs together, and it's financial regs, and we're saying that we are suspending the normal requirement to have 3 quotes because of this specialism.
So that's seconded. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? I think that is unanimous. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 11, to review the progress against the Town Council's delivery plan for 23-24. This is pages 91 to 102 in your pack this evening. Is there anything that you wanted to speak to?
No, I think there's a good number of completed tasks. I think some of the projects that still need work would bound to not be completed in the light of within this financial year, in the light of things that have happened within the financial year. I have highlighted in red things that I would particularly like you to note and which will be automatically moved into next year's delivery plan, unless you tell me not to move them forward.
Any comments or any discussion about the items in red, Axel?
The question or note I would have is about the development of the business directory on the new website. The update is in progress. What does that mean? Do we have a directory up there that is working, or is it? It's not.
The website's been updated and that work is in progress. There's further work being done to update the website, but we have not had the capacity to do that this year. And also, there's been some suggestion that the town deal might do that piece of work with local businesses, in which case that would be a useful way forward. But
may I make a suggestion? to the officers that we consider allowing self-submissions from businesses and perhaps connect with the business. Excuse me, my memory isn't the best, but we have a business community in Bletchley, in Fenny, that we could also reach out to.
I think it would have to be done by the economic development team at Milton Keynes City Council, because they are the people who've got capacity to engage with the business community. At the moment, we don't have it within our team at the moment.
Thank you. Any other comments?
But I'll put that on the draft plan for next year.
Any comments? Any other comments? No?
I've got one more thing. Me?
Yeah.
Excellent. Sorry, I feel like Columbo today. Always got one more thing. White ribbon. Remember Ed's email about the last event, and I know Delia and some of our officers were involved in the events that happened this year, if my memory serves correctly. And I would like to say that I'm sorry I haven't been able to participate as much as I wanted to be, and I am Mayor Cooper. I've been an ambassador for the White Ribbon campaign, but I haven't really been doing much ambassadoring. Is that a word? Outreach, and I think that this is a very important campaign, violence against women, and domestic violence is, you know, not always visible, especially if it's more psychological rather than physical. That can have as much, if not more, damage to people's lives. So I think we need to do a little bit more to really support the campaign that we throw our support behind. And yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for all those who did manage to do what they said they were going to do, and I'm sorry I fell short.
Okay, next item, is there anything else you want to say? No. Next item on the agenda is to go to item 12, to review the draft template for the Town Council strategic plan and the draft delivery schedule for the next financial year.
Yeah, so thankfully this has been photocopied on double-sided paper, so this has been tabled. Not asking you to comment on this at this meeting, but as you will appreciate, with the election happening in May, we need to produce a new strategic plan for the next 4 years, or at least the council needs to produce it, and I can't leave production of that piece of work until after the annual meeting in May, because as of next week, we're in the new financial year's budget and I'm working towards a new delivery plan. Unfortunately, due to workload issues, I haven't been able to produce the new delivery plan yet, but I will do that in time for the next meeting. Starting on the second page of this table document, I've presented an outline of what I think the new strategic plan should look like. I suggest that the delivery plan is included as an annual appendix to the 4-year strategic plan. I've made some notes on the first page about what I think we've learned from our experience of using the plan that was produced for us by consultants. I've done quite a bit of reviewing of other councils' strategic plans. So it's a really important document for officers and also for the community, because it gives us authority to progress pieces of work that fit in with the council's strategic priorities, and so read alongside the budget and a number of other documents, it provides guidance to the officer team. It also provides information for the community about what the town council's priorities are and how they propose to implement those aspirations within their priorities. So obviously this can't be approved until after the elections when we've got the new council. But what I do want to do is start working on it now so that there's a framework ready for after the elections for the new council to look at and say yes or no. So what I'm asking everyone to do is to read this outline, which I'm happy to send out to you electronically as well, and I'll send this document electronically so you get that one with both sides on it. And if you could give me any feedback as soon as possible on what your thoughts are, and then I will continue with my work when I come back.
Thank you for that update. Any comments or questions from members? No, that's noted. Thank you very much. To item 13 on the agenda, to receive a report on the progress of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford neighbourhood plan. Is there any comments that you wanted to give us?
Yes, so of course we had the informal community consultations conducted in January. Probably the outcome of that seemed as though there was a bit of confusion and there was sort of lack of clarity in terms of the expectations of the neighbourhood plan. But there's obviously a lot of other things going on in the background, like the new town deal, the new city plan, East West Rail, Bletchley Pathfinder. So there's a lot of things overlapping. So there is there's a lack of clarity for members of the public on what the neighbourhood plan is, and obviously we want to fulfil the expectations. I believe Dee had a meeting with MK City Council as the Deputy Chief Executive and the Director of Planning. So, I mean, originally we were looking to move to the formal Regulation 14 consultation, which is similar to the one that we'd seen from Stoke Hammond, which is a pre-submission draft plan consultation. We're hoping to do that in May. Of course, the key thing the steering group felt was that the expectations really need to be defined a bit more clearer, and we discussed moving the informal consultations and sort of having them until September, so we've got a little bit more time to get some feedback, have more formal consultations around sort of October time. Would sort of allow us to do a few other things as well. So I know there is a technical support package which we've been applying for. And that would again give a lot of weight to our neighbourhood plan. I mean, there's things like the housing needs assessments. There's a lot of data gathering. I mean, there's you know, period plan needs to be addressed in there as well, but there's, you know, affordable housing needs, there's the specialist needs, like for example the elderly. I mean, that's expected in June. There's strategic environment assessment as well, which would probably conclude by June as well, and there's the design code. So it has, you know, give us a lot of time to sort of get a lot more evidence and data for the neighbourhood plan and give it a lot more weight. So yeah, I think that was really what the steering group felt, was that, you know, extending that time frame for the informal consultations is the best thing for the neighbourhood plan.
Can I just add to that? Just on the technical tracks, I've had a meeting today with ACON about the design codes, and they'll be coming to do a site visit probably mid to late April. So they need to walk around and look at the areas where I think we might want to develop design codes, and that would be for the canal and the areas of specific character within the patch. So following that visit, there'll then be a 6 to 8 week period while they produce their proposals for design code. We'll then get a couple of weeks to review that and respond with any proposals on that. So there is a lot of work going on, but I would like to reiterate that we are a very select group on the neighbourhood plan, and we do need more input from councillors and from residents on the neighbourhood plan. I think we've made the right decision in thinking about delaying the timetable, not least because it needs to be in conformity with the new city plan. That's pointless. It's wasting a lot of time on things or sites that are not going to be brought forward in the new city plan. We really do need support. And I keep saying this at town council meetings, and it's the same couple of councillors at every steering group meeting, and we really need to strengthen that group. And Councillor Saint's doing a great job of leading it. We just need more opinions.
Thank you. Any comments or any questions? Well,
I think you need more people from the public rather than councillors.
Well,
you know, if you can get them, that is, you know, because they are getting a bit confused with it. Like I spoke the other day, I had an email. Why are you building in Cornwall Way? Sorry. So I sent back, sorry, I don't understand. They said, well, you said. I said. And I said, someone's looked at the naval plan and got it wrong. It's what might come in the future, not now. And then I had someone say about the library. And lucky I was at residents' meeting tonight, and I put them right. I said, the library's here for the next 5-10 years, but in years to come, libraries won't be used. They won't be wanted. So if you've got it in the naval plan, no one's going to come along, knock the library down and put a 25-storey block of flats if you only want a 2-storey block of flats. And they went, oh, it didn't sound like that. I said, well, that's what it means.
Just to come back on that point, that I do believe that what the principal council is talking about is actually perhaps relocating the library to a space that is better within Bletchley town centre before that site is. So I just want to make clear, we don't know of any plan not to have no library.
or any plans for that.
No,
any
that's right.
specific plans for that site.
Or Cornwall Way or anything, is what I try to tell, you know. But they've looked at the naval plan and they don't understand we're talking the future, not the here and now.
I think that's why we felt that we needed to do some more focused and targeted consultation on smaller aspects of the neighbourhood plan, because it was too overwhelming for a lot of people. However, we do need more residents to be involved. And I would hope that as councillors who are connected with the community, you might help us as officers to identify people who've got something to contribute to the neighbourhood plan steering group and who can help us make that consultation more meaningful than the January consultation clearly was. But without the support from councillors and their connections and people in the community, it's difficult for us to continue to do a good consultation going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, one last thing. The next steering group is on the 18th of April. So I mean, we do hold it in a hybrid sort of setting. So in person in Sycamore House as well as online. So if you did want to join in online or come in person, you know, by all means. But yeah, I mean, it should be resident led, 100%. I mean, we are all residents as well, you know, and we know residents. So, you know, almost be a starting point if, you know, we could sort of go through the policies, obviously almost spread the word about it. And yeah, I mean, next round, obviously, when we finish the informal consultations in September, we'll have a lot more meat to it and yeah, a lot more sort of weight to the neighbourhood plan.
So I encourage you all to attend the meeting on the 18th of April. And I think that what we all know, or what I believe the clerk has just said, is we need some more opinions there and different opinions there. And I believe as councillors, we're certainly opinionated. So let's kind of share those opinions. If there's nothing else, then I will bring the meeting to a close. It is 4 minutes past 9. Thank you very much for your time. And for those joining us on social media this evening, thank you very much for joining us. And the next full council meeting is on Tuesday, the 30th of April. Thanks very much. Good night.